I was out hunting small game in Camp Blanding on the Still Hunt side, close to Cemetery Road. I had a friend of mine about 150 yards to my right and about 30 to 40 yards in front. I saw something running between us, going from my right to in front of me. It was between the two of us. It stopped about 50 to 60 yards in front of me, turned and looked at me. I stood, looking, trying to figure out what I was seeing for maybe 30 seconds. I then got down on one knee and watched about 45 seconds. It turned to its right, my left, and was gone. It was dark brown, almost black, running kind of like an old man that had back problems, bent over a little at the waist. It was on two legs, not four, as all other animals in the woods have. I could see the arms moving as it ran, just as a man's would when he is running. I am 6 foot tall. I walked to the spot that I sought, looking at the tree it was beside, and was looking to see if I could tell how tall it was. From what I could tell from what I saw, it stood about 7 foot tall. I looked for any tracks, found none as it was a swamp. Nothing but water. But you could see evidence that something was there from the way the grass and the water was laid over. I called to my friend, asked if he saw anything. He said no. We both began walking, hunting more, all the while I was thinking about what I saw. We walked about a half mile from where I saw it, whatever it was, and he saw a very large pile of feces on the ground. We both looked at it for a while, poking at it with sticks, trying to figure out what kind of animal that could have come from. We both have hunted for over 35 years each and have never seen anything like this. We saw a lot of grassy materials and a lot of berries in it. No hair, bone, or anything that you would see from most carnivores in the woods. I didn't get the date exactly, but it was a few days before we had to go back to school. Me and my friends were camping in the woods in Middleburg. It was about 9 or 10 p.m. at night. I didn't have a watch on me, so I can't be exact. But as me and my friends were hanging out, I decided to take a walk along the creek that basically circled the camp. Well, it had been about 15 minutes after I left my friends when I decided to sit back down by the creek. Well, a minute later, I heard some rustling leaves and sticks across the creek, so I listened closely. I had a flashlight, but I did not use it yet. It stopped at the edge of the creek. Well, when it stopped, I turned on the light, and about 5 yards out of the light's beam, a large creature saw the light and turned around and just took off running. It had to have been large because as it ran 10 to 20 yards into the brush, it was shacking and pushing trees out of the way. And these trees were decently thick, a good 6 inches thick. It stopped about 30 yards in and gave off a weird, disturbing, in my best description, a growling snarl. It's hard to describe exactly. That's when I yelled an exclamation and ran back to camp. I could hardly find my way back to camp. My friends had to help me. The best part of the creature that I saw was partially the back of its head. It was a brownish black and looked kind of ragged. If I had to give a good height estimate, about 6 or 7 feet tall. But it was dark, so it was hard to tell. I told my friends what had happened, and I think they didn't pay much mind to it. But later on that night, about 1 or 2 a.m., one of my friends said he awoke and heard a weird howling just about a mile away in the direction of my encounter. In 1974, I was 12 years old at the time, visiting my sister, M, and her family in Davie, Florida, with my cousin A, who was also 15 at the time. One night, we were sleeping on a pull-out couch in the sitting room, when we smelled something like a skunk, only worse. We asked my sister what it was, and she said it was the skunk ape, and he comes around in the hottest summers. We didn't believe her, so we asked our friends, and they said it was real. One night, while we were sleeping, we seen a huge shadow come across the picture window. Then it turned, looked at itself, and let out a blood-curdling scream that scared us half to death. Then it turned and walked to the side of the house, and we followed it by going in the side bathroom. There, it squatted down to eat a wild watermelon. Then, it went back to the house to a man-made lake, squatted down and drank some water. A few nights later, the beast attacked a wild horse in its corral, but the horse got away by jumping over the corral and ran off into the pasture. The rancher came out and took a few shots at the beast, but it got away. When the horse came back, it had fingerprints on its hindquarters. Not scratches, but finger marks. A few nights later, the beast came back and killed a farmer's bull. The farmer took a few shots at the beast, but missed it. At the same time, my sister and her husband Jay were coming home from a night out, and the sheriff and his deputy were on patrol. We jumped into Joe's car and followed the deputy when the beast stepped out of the darkness and was hit by the police car. The beast went down, and when it got up, it looked into the police car and let out a blood-curdling yell. We were about 10 feet behind the deputy car when the beast hit the police car with both hands, and the back of the car came off the ground. Then it limped off into the swamp. When the sheriff got there, the car looked like it had hit a utility pole. Just then, the farmer came over and told the sheriff that his prized bull was now dead. This bull was huge, at least a ton, with its head ripped off and thrown across the pasture. That's when they called in the state police with their horses and dogs and helicopters. They searched the swamp all night, but found nothing. First, I'll start with the fact that I've never had to put much thought into the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. I have degrees in wildlife management and wildlife biology, and I have been a working biologist for at least 17 years. I have never believed that something could exist that has never left any concrete evidence. Furthermore, nothing similar has ever been found in the fossil record that I know of, so that has led me to believe what I know about Bigfoot to be false. Until the weekend of November 24th, 2013. I am an avid birdwatcher and wildlife photographer. I take very long hikes in various wild areas around Tampa this time of year to photograph whatever I find. I was hiking at Cypress Creek Preserve, which is in between Interstate 275 and 75, near the apex where they meet. I was walking on one of the rather wide trails and I came to a stop because I heard a noise. I had seen quite a few wild pigs that morning, and I thought I could photograph one crossing the trail in front of me. I was looking down at my camera, adjusting the ISO settings, and I saw something large move out of the corner of one of my eyes, my left, approximately 200 feet away. As soon as I saw the movement, I looked directly at it, and it was already halfway across the trail at this point. My eyes were directly on the animal as it walked, upright, across the rest of the trail and into the brush. It was very large, at least 6 feet tall or more, completely black in color, with a very wide chest from front to back. It was walking completely upright, with a very fast, purposeful pace. The animal was leaning forward slightly, but did not seem awkward with its steps, like a bear would be while walking upright. I slowly walked over to the spot where I could saw it cross, and I could still hear it moving through the woods in the distance. I immediately noticed that all the birds around me had stopped chirping, and the insects had stopped making noise as well. I looked for tracks or hair left on the plants in the area, but found nothing. I was able to get a picture of the palmetto on the trail where it crossed, and I put my tripod near it for the height comparison. I am extremely knowledgeable about the wildlife in Florida, but I cannot explain what type of animal that I saw this weekend. I, a female lady, was driving on a clear day on I-75 in the afternoon on a spring day from Sarasota to Tampa, going north 65 to 70 miles per hour on the far right lane. This would be on the east side of I-75. I had to take an exam in Tampa the next day, so I know the exact date that I was traveling. My window was slightly open on the passenger side to let the fresh air in. I was driving on the far right side of the highway in a heavily tropical wooded area when I saw what I first thought was a man walking fast about 50 feet away from the highway in a light grassy meadow with thick brush or tropical woods behind him. As I got closer, I saw that it was not a man, but a creature that looked like a man, with approximately 3-inch long brown hair covering its body from head to foot. When I was parallel to the creature, it quickly went into the brush wooded area and disappeared. It looked like tall, thick brush or woods. The creature looked like a male, around, I'm guessing, 6 to 7 feet tall, with a thick body, thick legs, and wide shoulders. I could see the brown body hair as it turned its whole body all at once, bent its head, and went into the brush and woods. It was going north the same direction as me, and walked quickly with wide steps, with knees bent before it turned into the brush or woods. As I drove off, I couldn't get over what I just saw. It happened in about 30 seconds. My car smelt like rotten eggs, sulfur, or just strange awful odor for about 10 minutes after. I was not afraid. It did not look scary, just really strange. It happened so fast and without warning.